Street Cred, breaking down all things MMA with Thomas Doscher and Nick Terdick. Street Cred.
Hey, Nick, what's happening, buddy?
Hey, Tom, how are you?
I'm doing good. And, I keep thinking about the two UFC 257 that we just had because I still have heartburn from the pizza.
Yeah, no, I mean, anytime you're messing with buffalo chicken, that's a day where I have to do a full preparation. I do the Zegerid, the omeprazole, Tums, Pepto before bed. It's the works.
But you know what? I look at it, I say, I'm going to suffer, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah, no, I always do it. It's the same thing. You hate that you love it, but you love that you do it.
Isn't it the way in everything in life? We saw some great action, UFC 257, and let's get into it. I guess we can start with Conor. Wow, just wow, Nick. What are your takeaways from that?
I mean, in the first round, when Poirier scored that takedown, right? It almost looked like he fell into the takedown. It didn't look like he was setting it up, going for the takedown. It looks like he almost just fell into it and he got Conor on the ground.
Got it.
Right? So right there, I think it was, Conor just off his game plan. Not that at that point in the fight did I think things were over, because I didn't think that. We've seen Conor fight hard against takedowns, against Khabib. That first takedown Khabib had, Conor fought really hard. He stuck the head, he squared his hips, did a lot of good things.
Yeah.
Probably the first half of the first round was all, clinch work up against the cage, and they were throwing the shoulder strikes, and Conor was, getting up off the mat. So I do think that threw him off a little bit, and he had to change his game plan on his feet just a little bit to respect the takedown.
Yes.
Now he spent almost 2.5 minutes, more or less wrestling with Dustin, but, he wasn't standing up striking with him where he wants to be. So I think that changed an element of his striking after that first, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes.
Absolutely. And then factor in something that he never expected. And when we broke down the fight a week ago, we spoke about having to get Conor uncomfortable, right? And put him in situations where he doesn't like to be. Well, when Dustin started striking that calf, Conor did not expect that.
No, and lower calf kicks have been very prevalent in mixed martial arts in the last 2-3 years now. You see it more and more, and it really stops guys in their tracks. The one thing that looking back at it now, when guys get affected by leg kicks or lower calf kicks, they usually tend to switch their stance to let it, it lets the guy know that it's really getting to them, but at least it gives that leg a break from getting beat up.
Right.
I didn't realize how affected Conor was by these leg kicks until I saw Dustin backing him into the cage and really letting his hands go. Dustin had already hurt him. So
that's right.
I was thinking in my head, oh, he's hurt. I think he hurt his knee. I didn't realize that the leg kicks had played that much of a role so early in the fight.
Well, think about this, Nick, and this is really an important study on their approaches to this fight. We said it, Conor does not like to be uncomfortable, and he doesn't want to be thrown off of his plan. And his plan is not to switch up to the other side of being a southpaw or a conventional fighter. He has a very distinct style, and he likes to fight from that distinct style. And you saw it. The calf is getting hurt, and he stays in the style, right? because that's his thing. That's his thing.
And I think that it was very Dustin, had gained a lot of confidence when he did take a couple of those left hands from Conor that landed pretty clean.
I know.
When he wasn't as affected by them as he was in the first time they fought. The first time they fought, one shot, boom, Dustin went down.
Right.
Now, Dustin kind of felt what he had on it and was like, that's not so bad this time around. And I think that kind of changed the pace of that fight. Dustin was building confidence. Conor was getting a little tired, and he was taking a lot of damage on that leg. And it was a recipe for disaster. And obviously, Dustin put it on him and was able to get the finish in the second round.
Well, you know what? And I said it after I saw first, it was the press conference, right? And that was a day before the weigh-ins, right? And you can see the determination. And then you see the weigh-ins. And you saw a different Dustin Poirier there. You could see the intensity. This guy was here to prove a point, right? So now the point that I'm making is that during the fight, there's a takedown, there's some leg kicks, and now Dustin is the one that's talking the shit now in the ring, right? There's some verbal exchanges, and look, and Dustin's saying, come on, let's go, right?
Yeah, and I think, go ahead.
Good. Well, he's saying, he took a shot, he said, come on, I'm here, let's go. Give me, you threw a shot, let's go, what do you got? I mean, it was completely different than the trash talk that might have happened 2.5 to 3 years ago with Conor, just trash talking all over the ring. Here is a guy just playing his game right to the edge here, the same game.
Yeah. And I think, at that point when Dustin was throwing his hands, letting his hands go and landing some shots that, were hurting Conor.
Yeah.
You really saw how fatigued Conor was getting and not able to, withstand that flurry.
I know.
Because like other guys in the division and in the sport, when you get in trouble, when you get hurt, you take the guy down, or you try to catch that, catch a breath. Conor doesn't really have that ability to shoot in, take the guy down to recover. So a lot of what he does to catch his breath is, he gets back on the cage, he moves his head, he tries to dodge, land a shot, move his head. And against someone who smells blood in the water like Dustin, who's great at finishing guys, it's, it was just only a matter of time before Dustin got the finish at that point.
Do you think, and I think this might be a very vulnerable point in Conor's career, I think he was exposed here, Nick, in a way that's not good for him. It used to be that you drag Conor down, and that's where he was vulnerable. And now we see something that's kind of like the Nate Diaz, where you beat him up a little bit on his feet, and then you take him down, and he really doesn't have an answer for it.
Yeah. I don't know if exposed is the right word, because, everyone always, if someone's going to sit here and criticize Conor's game, it's always, he's not in great shape, and he's got no ground game, and he's, doesn't want to wrestle. And we knew all those things going into it.
Right.
And what this fight kind of just, told us was pretty much the same thing, in my opinion. He gets tired. He doesn't really want to roll around with you. And the only thing that this kind of uncovered was that, if you are successful with your calf kicks, it's gonna pay off.
Oh yeah, and those were nasty. I almost think that we need to say a little shout out, thank you to Justin Gaethje, because I feel like he took the calf kicks to a little bit of another level, and then Dustin took it to another level.
Yeah. I mean, you see it more and more. And look at, the weight classes across the UFC. I mean, just one example, look what it did to Sugar Sean O'Malley. It took him out of that fight against Cheeto Vera. He was
Right.
just sitting on his butt. He had no answer. That leg goes dead, and you cannot do anything. It's,
That's
I
right.
guess, a nerve, that they, when the shin hits, the side of your knee or just below it, that just shuts your leg down.
You could see the pain that Conor was in. I mean, he was really compromised here before the knockdown.
Yeah, it was. And again, I think, if I was in his corner, I didn't know Conor was really suffering from those leg kicks when I was watching it. I don't know. I thought he might have hurt his knee. I thought maybe he, his ACL or something like that. I didn't realize that it was just from the leg kicks. If I was Kavanaugh in the corner, I might have said, Conor, let's switch it up. Let's go orthodox. Switch it up from Southpaw to orthodox. Give that leg a little rest where you're not getting kicked constantly. So I don't know. I would that have helped? I have no idea. But it's the first thing you usually see in a fight when guys are getting a lot of damage on a leg from leg kicks. They'll switch it up. They'll go. They'll switch their lead leg, and that's I'm surprised he did it.
I know. And it really, everything seemed to now, even in retrospect, everything happened very quick in that fight. It seemed like it was just on from the very start, and then it just got progressively more intense until Conor hit the ground.
Yeah, it was. And the shot that put him down was one of the cleanest right hands straight in his his nose, and it sat him right on his butt. And kudos to Dustin Poirier for again smelling blood in the water and really going to get the finish when he noticed that how hurt he was.
Yeah, right. And what's funny, and I think all these play into a fighter's mind. Dustin was put off by the fact that he was a plus 240 in the odds, and not that he should be looking at that either, because a fighter should not be worried about Vegas odds. But I guess inadvertently he found out, and he was really upset about the fact that he was that much of an underdog. He's saying, hey, I'm here to win this thing. I'm not outclassed like that at all. And he did.
And again, it's only normal for him to check out the odds. It's everywhere you look, especially in this world. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's if I were Dustin, I would definitely feel like why is the spread why is he so heavily favored when I've been the champ and I have good wins and I've shown what I could do in the last couple fights, and I don't know, it was a big fight. It was Conor McGregor. There's a lot of money, so I can understand why the odds were the odds. But I could definitely see Dustin being upset, and he had every right to. And he went out there and he showed why, if you put money on him, you had a nice return on that.
Yeah, right. That's a good dividend.
Yeah.
So
what was he? He was a 3-1 underdog or something like that.
Almost.
Yeah.
I mean, plus 240. I mean, that's not too shabby.
No, not at all.
That was a great headline. And then I guess the co-main was another great fight, Nick.
Yeah, and I don't want to jump into saying me and you told everybody so, but me and you told everybody so.
I know what you're saying. I totally agree.
And everyone that I've been seeing online saying, "Oh, Dan Hooker was fighting. He fought timid. That was a fluke. Michael Chandler. It's not that good. This, I've just been reading crazy shit, and look at it from Dan Hooker's perspective. You're fighting a much shorter guy, and your game plan is probably to keep him away, use your reach, and play the distance game with him.
Right.
Unfortunately, keeping someone as tough as Michael Chandler is when he's walking you down and chasing you around the octagon, it's just a matter of time before he lands something or takes you down.
It's a good point. The thing that I feel like when I think about Hooker, I feel like Hooker was preparing himself for a completely different fight here. He was thinking that he's going to keep this guy off and keep him at length whenever he wanted to. The reality is that Chandler was coming in and throwing, and he was getting inside. He was slipping and getting inside at will and landing some heavy, heavy artillery. And Hooker did not expect that at all.
Yeah. Chandler was doing a good job digging to the body. And I think the shot that knocked him out was beautiful. He started low and came up, big left hook to the head,
clean
put him down. Yeah, clean as a punch can get, and then just jumped all over him and just attacked the finish. And it was, it was one of the best. I think they were calling it, the best UFC debut, ever.
Well, I think that's a little tainted because you're talking about, if you're talking about a rookie coming in just getting his UFC contract, that's a whole different subset. You're talking about a guy that's a world-class fighter from Bellator coming into the UFC. They call it a UFC debut, and technically, all right, technically it is.
Yeah.
But it's hardly a debut for this guy.
Oh yeah, no, he's been there before, and you could just see it when he was making his walk to the octagon. It was just another day in the office for Michael Chandler. He's competed at the highest stage, the NCAA wrestle, Division I All-American. He's wrestled against the best guys in the world. He's fought against the best guys in the world. This is just doing the same thing he's always been doing, just at a different promotion.
Right.
Now
you mentioned that you've seen this guy around your gym and were mighty impressed with this guy years ago.
Yeah, well, the first time I had seen Michael Chandler was at Hofstra. He must have been in town training, either at Longo's or linking up with one of my old coaches, Dan Valamont, who had probably graduated around the same time as he did.
Okay.
So he was training with us for a couple practices at Hofstra.
Yeah.
And that was when I had first met him, and I was like, well, this dude's, he was fighting in Bellator at the time, and I was like, this dude's an animal.
Oh, yeah.
But sure. I wanted to touch on something and get your opinion because, I'm curious to see what you would think.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that Dan Hooker was affected still from that war he had with Poirier? Because he took a beating in that fight.
I know.
So and now we have Tony Ferguson, who is, in my opinion, has not recovered from the beating he took from Gaethje. And now I see the same thing from Hooker, not recovering in time for this fight.
You know what? You're 100% right, Nick. And this is the challenge that we keep on bringing to the forefront. And the equation is something like this. You take a beating, right? And he took a beating from Dustin. Now you got to recover, but you can't go away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're on a loss, right? So you should go away for a year, but it's impossible. In this game, you can't leave the game for a year. You got to jump in there and try to rectify the loss, right? And try to get yourself back in some kind of a contention for a run at a belt, because that's what the UFC is. It's all runs at a belt. That's the only thing they're concerned with. They've said it. Dana has said it. We want guys looking to be champs, right? So it's all one big race for a title. So he can't really disappear and take the time that he needs correctly, in my mind, to go in and get himself healthy again. And he does take a tremendous beating. As a matter of fact, he leaves the Dustin Poirier fight in an ambulance, right?
Yeah.
And he's hurt. He's hurt. Comes back, does not look like he has the durability. Looks like he's immediately trying to offset the damage that he's taking and try to get away from it, which is the last thing you want is Michael Chandler chasing you around the ring, which is starting to happen. But what was he going to do? He wasn't going to be able to go to a ground game with this guy. The only thing he could hope to do is outstrike him and keep him at a distance. Chandler had no problem getting inside and delivering damage immediately with this guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as like what's next for Dan Hooker, I don't know. But I do think that the fight he had with Dustin, he, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but he probably should have waited, a little longer.
Well, I think that it's not really, we speak about opinions and trends, but all you have to do is start looking at the guys that have taken those kind of beatings, right? And look at the path or the trajectory or the opposite or the downfall of all of these kind of fights, what happened after those fights. And it's all the same. It's kind of like a downward slope.
Yeah.
And now, we talked about Tony Ferguson. I'm seeing it also with Dan Hooker, the same kind of thing. A lot of punishment, a lot of damage, and then another loss. But you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Exactly, like you said. Yeah, like you said, you can't take too much time off. It's a very fast changing game.
Right. If he wants to take the time off, all of a sudden there's a whole slew of new names popping up. And then you say, oh, Hooker. Oh, I remember Hooker. Remember Hooker? That's not a good conversation to have.
No, and all those new names are young animals that are, going to be tough to beat. And then you got to beat them, and then you got to beat the guys who are the best in the weight class.
I know.
So it makes it a tough road.
And in some of the weight classes, Nick, as we're discussing now, there's an overabundance. When we talk about the 155, right? I mean, it's a crowd. It's like it's a crowded scene here, right?
Yeah, no, a lot is. I could list off 15 guys who are good in that weight class.
Right. So now, and we'll get to it. So now, and that was a tremendous fight. I didn't see a road where Hooker really had an advantage. I could only see Chandler running through him. So what happened? I guess you do get a lot of fan hype, and I guess it comes with the game. I don't think it necessarily corresponds to Vegas odds, but Chandler was the underdog in that fight.
Yeah.
At one point, he was up as high as plus 145 to 150. I think they settled in on plus 135. You talk about value.
No, it's a good bang for your buck there.
I mean, oh my God. So it really was a great UFC 257. The only thing is the time warp, because it's like, I probably left your house at 1:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And that compromises me for a Sunday.
I know.
But it's well worth it. But it's like, I call it the UFC hangover, because it's like a little sleep deprived. But imagine they were fighting at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Which I don't think I would mind.
I think you're right, because the other card that was the weekend before that was a 3 o'clock p.m. start for us on the East Coast, and that was a 12 o'clock midnight start for them on Fight Island. So I guess I would, if I'm a fighter, right? That was a 12 o'clock start. If you're the main card, that's like a 1:45, 2 o'clock in the morning fight.
Yeah.
That's hard.
No,
right?
Definitely not easy. No, I don't know. I mean, I guess each fighter would, have a different opinion on it. But I can't imagine.
Right about, yeah.
Yeah, I for one am a morning person, so I feel like I can get the best warm up and the best match, earlier in the day.
Well, I feel like it translates to this. I think the majority of fighters would be training early in the morning. When I was running and training, it was early. It was not, 7 o'clock at night. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. That was recuperation time. And I'm sure that you guys, when you're doing the wrestling, that was probably, at least after the high school portion of it. In college, I mean, that's probably an early morning start, no?
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything. We had our early morning stuff, we had our midday stuff, and
Yeah.
then practice during the season was consistently at like 2:30, so midday.
Well, you're still in college, so
Exactly, but a lot of our workouts were in the morning. But
yeah.
if you're a professional fighter, think about it like this: if you're a professional fighter, there's really no reason for you to work out in the morning. You'll never have to be ready for competition normally, unless you're in Abu Dhabi, and
Yeah, right.
you'll never have to be ready for a competition at 6 in the morning. So a lot of guys are like, well, why would I wake up and train? I'll never have to get my body ready at 6 a.m. ever for my
That's a good
professional.
point. So
Yeah.
this is kind of changing the element of surprise. I don't know how long they'll continue to have fights on this island, but it looks like they're dug in deep there with that facility.
I love it. We're spoiled. 2020, they were rolling out fights every weekend for us. Now I got to wait till like February 6th. Bullshit.
That's the next card. Now, February 6th is what is that? Is it UFC 258 or is it
Oh no,
something else?
it's not anything like that. I think it's a fight night. I think I saw
Okay.
it was, hold on. I'll tell you real quick. UFC fight night, Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. And I'm very big on
it's
yeah.
Overeem.
Yeah, I'm very big on Overeem.
I'm actually on the Overeem side too. I mean, I've been very impressed with him as of late, and I think that's a great matchup for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should be making his last run at the title. I don't know. Like I get like I'm like behind him the same way I'm like behind Glover Teixeira. I feel like this is it.
Yeah.
Like this is gonna be a great retirement. So he's gonna win the belt, and he's gonna hang him up. It's gonna be awesome. Well, one of the veterans is gonna finish on top in a good weight class, in my opinion.
Sure.
Heavyweight's got and then but we'll see. I mean, there's still some guys in that weight that he's that are very tough, but he's been climbing up, and I just love it. I love seeing those old guys have success, and I really hope he wins.
Yeah, right. All right, my friend. Always a pleasure, Nick, and we'll catch up soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom.
Take care.